it's at some point or another though, kids either got it or they don't.
Couldn't agree more.
But for those who have it, most of the time, it's easier for them to be content.
All right. Welcome to another episode of the Bring the Juice podcast. I'm your host, Frank Delana. Today on the pod, we have Greg Panelli. Greg, say what's up to Bring the Juice Nation.
What's going on, guys? How you guys doing?
We're about to get after it today, baby. We got a quarterback guru, some might call. Greg, you played at Eastern Washington.
Yep.
Won a national championship. Is that correct?
Yep.
And now you're best known for being a quarterback guru, and you have the Panelli Passing Academy.
Yes.
Before we dive deep into that, being a Division I football player, it's not easy. We've had athletes on this podcast. We've had athletes of all types on this podcast at this point now. Shit, I feel like I've been doing this a long time. But from your perspective, every athlete has something in them that keeps them getting up in the morning when shit's tough. When I don't care how gritty you are, how hardcore you are, even the baddest mofo in the world, like he has days where he's like, I don't feel like doing it today. What is the reason that you get up in the morning in your playing days? Let's start there. Why'd you play as hard as you did? Why'd you get to the level to win a national championship? What was your why?
I'd say, that's been a good one. I've been asking that a lot to the quarterbacks as far as what is your why and why do you want to do certain things. But I remember being from just a small town. I was from a small 2-stoplight town in Newman, California.
Right.
Highly under-recruited area. I would say probably the whole stretch of the 99 from Fresno to, well, not even necessarily Fresno, but I guess probably Merced to Stockton is pretty under-recruited.
Right.
Every town in between. But I always had big aspirations to play college football. Went to junior college, so I got that second opportunity after high school. Mm-hmm. And it's like that last stop, or you hear the last chance you stuff. That was my last stop, last opportunity. Ended up getting a scholarship to Eastern, and I think that, part of it was doing it for my family, not letting my parents down. My parents afforded me a ton of opportunities to go be a quarterback in college and taking me to quarterback training every weekend in the Bay Area, and then going to just camps left and right. We would go to Berkeley, we would go to Fresno State camps, we did the Elite 11 stuff. Parents drove me all over the place, and it's not like they were just rich parents that had
it wasn't free.
So.
It wasn't free.
No, they didn't have the means to do so necessarily all the time, but they made it work. So I felt like I owed part of it to them. I owed part of it to myself. I owed part of it to the people that I played high school football with. Mm-hmm. And those expectations of, people from the town as well. Like this is going to be one of the guys. This is going to be the guy that makes it. And so I think all of those things together kind of, that was really my why at the end of the day. And just I was so scared to let people down. Mm-hmm. Not only myself, but family too, that pushed me probably more than anything, honestly.
Well, and the thing is, like, I can relate to that very well. I'm the oldest brother. I also kind of just knew, I wasn't a scholarship dude out the gate. Like I was like the undersized dude of, hey, where am I going to get a walk-on spot? And I was cool with that because I said, I just need a shot. I know my stats were good. My highlight tape was good. Everything was good. I'd send my highlight tape, and the first thing coaches would respond to me would be, how much do you weigh? How tall are you? Things like that. And for me, that was my Achilles. I wasn't the prototype of a Division I wide receiver at the time. Right. Still isn't. But I knew, I was like, I have everything else. I have the intangibles because, and we'll get into that, but there's a lot more to football than just being fitting the mold measurement wise. There's a shit ton more than that. But I know I can relate to that, and I think a lot of people listening to this can, because being the oldest brother, playing all these sports in high school, and you always want to be the best you could be. But like for me, I knew after my last high school football game, as not trying to make like a sob story about it, but like I knew, I was like, this is not my last football game. Right. I knew it was not my last football game, and the cards unfolded and it worked out in my favor, and I got my opportunity, and the rest is history. But sometimes guys come on this podcast when I ask them that question, and it's, my mom, it's whatever. And to some people, I'm sure that hits home, but sometimes it is just like, you want to make your people proud, man.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to have this great hardship or this great whatever you want to call it, this excuse, this reason that you put. It could just be, I just want to be great. And I got a lot of people that they support me. I have a great support system in my corner, both family and friends. And, just the random old dude that goes to the high school football game. And you're like, shit, man, that guy who I don't know who he is, but he wishes me good game all the time. His parents, he goes out to my mom and dad and says, hey, he played really hard tonight. Like, there's a lot more people than you think that are in your corner sometimes.
Yep.
And I know what you mean by that. And, that transition to go from high school to college, what was the mindset for you to choose Eastern Washington? Was that number one on your list, or was that just kind of like where the cards fell?
I had a few different scholarship offers. The recruiting game has changed so much, obviously, these days as compared to back then. So it's like you get a phone call back then. Coaches would say, overnight me the film. Right? You're sending them a DVD overnight. Like,
right.
I graduated 2007. So this is before Huddle, before Twitter. This is the MySpace days where you have your top 8 friends on MySpace and your music on your
I don't even know that. That's crazy. That's wild now.
So this is all before all of that started. So it was like, sending out tapes and trying to email people, and obviously coaches get a million emails a day. But the first scholarship I got, the first scholarship offer was from a Division II school after my first year playing at JC, and then decided to go back. Did really well, and then Morgan State came the 2 days after our bowl game, so they're at HBCU in Baltimore. They offered me first. Then I went to Sac State. They threw out a partial scholarship at first, and I told them to kick rocks.
Right.
And then I went to New Mexico State on an unofficial visit. That was my first official visit I went on at New Mexico State. They ended up offering another kid from Southern California. And then Eastern Washington called, I think, a few days later. And they were top 25 in the country, FCS.
Yeah.
Their quarterback was leaving at the time, Matt Nichols. And so I wanted to be a mid-year guy.
Right.
So I left mid-year. That was kind of where the pressure was. It's like I had to make that decision to either go in December or wait it out and then go after spring ball. And then being a JC guy, they're going to want you to go and be ready for spring ball. So Absolutely. I left, decided to go to Eastern Washington because they were on the quarter system too. Yep. So I had to make a decision quick.
Wow.
So New Year's Day, we go up there. I signed my letter of intent actually at Eastern Washington, so pretty ballsy move because this was all verbal offer over the phone, and then I drove up there with my parents, moved up.
Like you were sending it no matter what.
Yeah, we were going.
Yeah.
And so then I get there, sign my letter of intent the next morning, and then we had our first quarterback meeting. Was it 2 days later or something like that? And then they told us they were bringing in Bo Levi Mitchell from SMU. So we were getting another Division I transfer. So the writing was kind of on the wall at that point. Like I wasn't stupid. Like I know the business. Why you're bringing in a Division I transfer versus a JC guy and the other guys behind.
Yeah.
Like the dude's going to come in and start, right? So I walked out and I called University of Buffalo back because they had offered me the day that I signed. They called one of my JC coaches and said, we got a scholarship. Where's Panelli at? And I was already signed. I just signed that day at Eastern Washington. Wow. So I walked out 2 days later, called them back, and they said they just got a commit from an in-state team. So then it was like, well,
write it out.
I'm gonna have to write it out. So I wrote it out. Was a backup there at Eastern Washington. We won the national championship. Going to the next year, they named me the number 2 guy. Going in or right after spring ball, stuck it out through summer, and then I ended up just me and the quarterback coach at the time, which we got a good relationship now, Coach Hill. We were kind of butting heads at the time.
Yeah, it happens.
Riding my ass, and I'm like, "What the hell are you riding my ass? I'm the number 2 guy here. Like,
right.
I already know what's gonna happen this season." So, ended up deciding to transfer to a small school out in the Midwest. Played there, tore my ACL, MCL, meniscus. Like my last 3 weeks of college football was concussion. Broke both these fingers on a guard's helmet, and then tore my ACL, MCL, meniscus, and I had another year to play, but I called it quits. I was getting my degree. I was like, I'm done. This is it. So I was worn out from football. Like football, once you get to college, and a lot of people don't understand it. It's like don't get me wrong, it was a fun.
Hell yeah, it's a ride.
I mean, it's a ride, and there's a ton of ups and downs. But mentally, I was checked out, and I knew that if I was going to play another season, being half-assed checked out, there was no point in actually doing it. If I'm not all in, I'm not going to do it.
You can't.
I decided to call it quits, and that was it.
I mean, the game of football is one of the few things I think on planet Earth where like you can't half-ass it. You either need to be all in or all out. And if you do half-ass it, it's very noticeable, and you're probably going to either get cut if you're at that high enough of a level, or you'll just eventually quit and just fold into a shell. I mean, I'm content with how mine ended. Like I wrote it out, it ended. Didn't look back after my senior football game. I lost to San Jose State in the rain by 1 point or 2 points or some shit. It was depressing, but shit, that's why you got little brothers. You get to go watch them play.
Right, exactly.
It's more fun. Yeah. And then I had wild hair up my ass to do some other shit. But like, I know what you mean. And straight out of college, what was the gap between? All right, I called it quits. You have all these injuries, and football at this point in your head, it's not the healthiest relationship between you and football at that point. Like, I know what you mean. When did you start the Panelli Passing Academy?
So I went and worked. So for a while, I was like, you know what? I'm done with it. Like,
done.
I didn't even pick up a football. I probably didn't look, besides going to watch football games or whatever, but I didn't even pick up a football or just decide to throw a damn football around. None of it until probably 3 years later.
Wow.
And this is 2012, I got my degree. So about 2015. Mm-hmm. But in the meantime, I sent my resume just all over the place trying to get a job. I wanted to work in sports, but not necessarily as a football coach, but I wanted to work in sports. So I sent my resume out, and for some odd reason, the athletic director at San Jose State, like I sent it to her on LinkedIn, and she opened the message, and she's like, stop on by. So then, which is like complete rare occasion, this is going to happen. So she said, I don't know of any jobs open right now, but if you stop by, I'll introduce you to everybody around the athletic department. So I went there. She introduces me to everybody in tickets, to marketing, to game day operations, all this stuff. So they're like, I was also working, at this point I skipped ahead, but I was also working for the San Jose SaberCats. Like I just got a job with the San Jose SaberCats doing season ticket packages for them. And it's like entry-level sports job.
Right.
So I did that. And then on the side, I ended up obviously meeting all the guys at San Jose State and did game day operations for them. Like stood on the sidelines. They paid me like $150 to stand on the sidelines with an earpiece in. And like if something went wrong with the referee's microphone, like I had to just radio it up. So I just walked around like the sidelines of a college football game on a weekend, and they paid me $150 to.
It's not a bad. It's not a bad gig.
Yeah, no, it wasn't bad at all. Like it was wild that they actually paid me to do that. But through that, I met a couple guys, and one of the dudes, Matt Harper, who was the director of ticketing there at San Jose State, gets a job for the Oregon Ducks. And then he called me and asked if I wanted to go up to Oregon with him. So then I left San Jose and I went up to go work for the Oregon Ducks. And I did that for about a year. Did football, baseball, basketball. So it was like season ticket and marketing packages, stadium presence, all that stuff for football, baseball, basketball. So that was Chip Kelly's last year there. And then I ended up meeting my wife.
In Oregon?
No, she's from Firebaugh.
Okay.
So I met my wife through a mutual friend. She had got my number from my mom.
Classic.
Shot me a text like with a picture of my mom or a picture with her and my mom, and we just like friends on social media. Never even met her in person.
Yeah.
And then she texted me a picture, and then 5 months later, I'm like, I need to move back home. I'm gonna end up marrying this girl. So I ended up moving back home. I worked in finance for a little bit. Did some of the sales and finance stuff, and then that's really when the quarterback stuff came to fruition.
So you started it off. I mean, so how does it start? Like, I think every Division I athlete says at one point, I did it. I was in Utah, and I was a very profitable trainer in Utah. In my accolades, where I played college football, and at the time I was training as a skeleton athlete for Team USA.
Yeah,
and I was just like, so you go in. I knew nobody there. I went on Indeed and Hire Up and all that bullshit. And I was like, this is my profile. Like this is my hourly rate. Like, and it was during COVID. So gyms were closed and my whole pitch was, and I think you could, most people could relate to this. No, all body weight stuff, complete body weight.
Right.
And so I had a few people that came and they were like, oh, where's the weights at? Like they're being macho. And I was like, bro, you do enough fucking push-ups, that shit's going to start burning, bro. Yeah. Do enough air squats.
Right.
You'll fall down.
Yeah.
No Let's doubt. Do some sit-ups. You'll throw up, man. Like,
yeah.
You do anything long enough, it will hurt.
Right.
Like, I don't care what your max squat is. Like, once you get there, it will hurt, man. Yep. And anyway, so I know what you mean. I understand how you started. Like, I thought I could be a trainer, and then it fizzled out, and I got the farm now and all that stuff. Right. So I'm doing my thing. But what point did it go from I'm going to train a few quarterbacks to, hey man, like I'm the quarterback trainer?
Yeah. So my high school coach, well, my little brother's high school coach, but Aaron Souza over at Orston had reached out to me and asked if I'd come work with some of the quarterbacks there, and they cut me a check from like the boosters or something like that. So that kind of started this on the side, and then I started like paying attention to social media, and I'm seeing all these quarterback trainers on social media.
They suck.
And it's not, it's like kind of barely getting going at this point.
Yeah.
Like, this is probably 2015.
Yeah, that's the start.
This is kind of where it's like really starting
7-on-7 is becoming a bigger thing, all that shit. Yeah.
And I'm seeing this stuff and I'm like, you know what? Like I trained one of the top quarterback coaches in the country, which was Roger Theater, and he passed a couple of years ago, but he was one of the top guys in the country that a ton of dudes went to. So I'm like, you know what? Like some of these guys I'm seeing, we're not even football players. It doesn't even look like football. Didn't look like quarterbacks, whatever it may be. And I'm not necessarily saying if you didn't play quarterback, you can't teach quarterbacks, because there's look at guys in the NFL.
There's guys who never played football.
Yeah, exactly, and they're brilliant coaches. So I had a couple quarterbacks, and then I threw it out there on social media that I was going to start doing some stuff, and then I ended up talking to Josh at one point, and I'm like, who's coaching quarterbacks around here? And he's like, honestly, I don't think there's anybody doing it. So then I put it up there on social media that I was going to start doing it. I wrote down like 15 to 20 names, and I'm like, which one looks the best? And of course, my brothers and a couple of buddies like Panelli Passing Academy, and like, sure, whatever, it clicks, let's do it.
It clicks. It sounds good.
Came up with a logo, and then threw it out there on social media. And then I think my first group session I decided to have was at my old high school. We had like 8 guys show up. So a couple that I already knew, a couple I didn't know, and then the next month, and I wasn't doing this every weekend because I'm still working in finance at the time. So then like the next couple weeks, like 2 more parents hit me up from Facebook and Instagram, and then 2 more, and then 2 more, and 2 more.
Just ripple effect.
So this is in January. Eventually, I skipped a couple years, but like I'm doing this on the side, not really taking it serious. January. Was it 2017 or 2018? I forget. Was where I really said, okay, like I'm going.
Let's do
this thing, yeah. And then I was still working in finance. By May, I quit my job in finance and said, screw it, I'm going all in with this thing.
Wow.
And I had my son, who was just born. It was like, you want to talk about a push. So like right when I said, screw it, I'm quitting, my wife tells me she's going to stop doing real estate and wants to go to school and do hair. So it's like I just quit my salary job. She was commission job. And now it's like week to week on the money. And she's not making money anymore because she's going to go to school. And I just bought a house and I have a son. So you want to talk about like motivation.
Yeah.
Like you got a kid that you got to feed that's not even a year old yet. You got the mortgage to pay. And at the time it's like, shit, I'm bringing in maybe $3,000 a month. So I'm barely covering mortgage and truck and formula at this rate. You know, it's like
you had to find a way.
It was tight.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, you look at a little human being that they don't necessarily know they're relying on you yet, but you know that they're relying on you.
Yeah.
And my wife and my family and my friends, again, it's like it goes back to what you said. It's either continue doing what you're going to do or go find another job. And I almost got to that point where I almost went and found another job and just tried to continue to build this just because of the circumstances of my wife going back to school. So I pushed, man. I catered to so many people when I first started quarterback training. Like somebody would call me from Los Banos or somebody would call me from Modesto, and it's like, shit, I'll drive out there right now and I'll do it for the $100 and lose 20 on the gas or whatever at the time, and then make the $80 for it. And I was just grinding and grinding and grinding. So that continuous grind, it built a ton of character, humbled the hell out of me. So it's when I first started, it was like basically like shit or get off the pot, man. Yeah. And that's what I had to do. And so fast forward 4 years, 4.5, 5 years now, going from training, 15 to 20 quarterbacks. I probably have, I don't know, roughly 50 to 60 a week that I train. Wow. From the Bay Area to LA to out of, I just had a kid last week that came from Arkansas to train with me. I've gone out of state and trained quarterbacks, gone to camps all over the place. So definitely blessed to be here doing what I do. And I know at any given time, obviously, it could be gone. And
anything can. That's
as far as being like self-employed, finding that motivation each and every day, especially summer months are coming up. It's going to be hot as hell. I trained quarterbacks yesterday for 7 hours on the turf, and it was cooking out there.
Hell yeah.
And but it's like, dude, like if you want whatever you want to do, if you want these kids to continue to grow, you got to show up. If you want to make the money, you got to show up. Otherwise, it's like, sometimes I just want to sit my ass at home and kick my feet up and chill with my kids, but I don't really see that as an option right now.
Can't be.
No.
Failure is not an option in some circumstances, and in the situation you're in, where you're, especially that level you were at, where you guys both weren't bringing in income. I mean, it's sink or swim at that point.
Right.
It's literally fight or flight, and I think, until you actually go through that, you can't really relate it. I know what you mean, and I think too when it's your own, when your name's on something, that's I don't know, maybe that's something I like. One of the reasons I take such pride in Bring the Juice is because people know that I do bring the juice. It's not like Barstool Sports. Why do you think Dave Portnoy takes such pride in that shit? Barstool Sports is Dave Portnoy. Right. That's why he will die with that shit. Yep. Like he will not get bought out by anybody. And I'm pride. I mean, if Barstool Sports called me right now, I'd probably sell Bring the Juice to him. But like, that's because I respect Dave Portnoy. Right. Because I respect that shit. But I mean, yours alone, I work at a farm called Delana Farms. That's my last name. Like, I'm gonna make sure that we produce the highest quality onions, that's what we do, in the world. That's the goal, to be the highest quality, just the overall best onion farm in the world. And so when you got your last name connected to your business, and it's not like it's just you, and it's not like just you and you got a bunch of employees, like it's you. If there's not you, well, Panelli Passing really ain't shit. I mean, I'm sure you got assistants coming in eventually. Right, but like, it wouldn't be what it is without the foundation you set in those hard years.
Right.
So from your playing days to now, are you more disciplined now than you were when you played?
Yeah, you got to be.
You have to be.
Yeah.
That comes with manhood, you think?
Yeah, and I think it comes with being married, comes with, again, kids.
Sure.
Like I said, there's plenty of days, and there's plenty of days when you play football, it's like, dude, we got 6 a.m. lift.
Fuck yeah.
Like, do you really think, does anybody really think, besides the strength coach that is on your ass at 6 a.m., and it's like he's been up for 4 hours and already got his 3 lifts in that morning and 5 Red Bulls, and he's like jacked up at 6 a.m.? Does anybody really want to get up at 6 a.m. to do shit? Like, there's very few people, I think, that, then there's David Goggins, people like that.
That's what I'm saying. Those are extremists.
But the mentality has got to be different.
Yeah.
And so, like, I would say when I was working in finance, it's just this easy set schedule. Again, you really I was working in sales, so you set your own appointments. Right. And the possibilities are endless as far as the money you can really make to an extent, right? But you're setting your own appointments. You go to your appointments. You go home. You sit on the computer, this and that and the other thing. But it's comfortable to an extent, right?
It's comfortable.
That's the thing is people, especially even quarterbacks, athletes, like the second you get comfortable it's
over.
Yeah, it's over. You gotta find a way to make something change.
You have to.
Make some shit pop, right?
You have to.
If you don't elevate your game at some point or another, whether you're the best in the game or you're at the bottom of the barrel, right? If you don't find a way to elevate each and every week, someone's going to lap you. Somebody's out there busting their ass harder. And I was always, to me, like even now still, I know who the other quarterback coaches are, and I think they're great guys here in town. Like,
sure.
I talk to them often. But there's other quarterbacks coaches around the country too. It's like, I don't want to get my ass lapped. I'm trying to chase other dudes.
Hell yeah.
And as soon as I see the window of opportunity, I'm gone. Like I'm
Absolutely.
going. I'm chasing their ass because somebody else at some point or another is going to be doing that to me. Right?
Fuck yeah. There
you know what I'm saying? So it's
100%.
Like, and there's so many kids here that haven't got the opportunities, right? And you talk about being like one of those guys that wasn't a highly recruited dude. I wasn't a highly recruited dude. Josh wasn't a highly recruited dude.
We know it.
Tyler Bray, who I've trained out of Kingsburg, not a highly recruited dude. So I think there's so many athletes around here that look, now that I train them, they look at me and they're like, I'm kind of that hope for them too.
Yeah.
To provide a platform for them and a service for them to help them build and grow, and then shoot off their tapes to different college coaches that I built relationships with.
Hell yeah.
And hey, I video this kid. Here's a text video. Boom. Here's an offer. Like, it's almost crazy how it happens. And it's not necessarily that easy. You got to be a freaking dude, obviously.
That's the thing. Out of all the bullshit, like, you could do what you have to do. But at the end of the day, you have to produce the tape and be a dog. Like, it's
absolutely.
I mean, Tony Perry back in the day, like,
Yeah.
when he had DB Greer, like, yeah, he would help dudes get offers. Don't get me wrong. But if you couldn't produce and make the tape happen, bro, you weren't. It ain't just a magic pill that you, I got the plug. Like, no, bro, you still have to produce this shit.
Right. And that's the biggest thing that I think kids are caught up, especially with the NIL stuff. And we could talk about that for freaking hours, right?
We need a couple hours. Yeah,
exactly. The NIL stuff is crazy, but the social media and the offer game is crazy. And younger kids are getting offered. And don't get me wrong, there's some young kids out there, and I have a couple of them that I think should have Division I offers. But people are seeing these 8th graders, 9th graders, 10th graders with 25, 30 offers. People fail to realize that there is some people behind that is their job, and Pop's got money and is going to pay this offer guru that's got relationships with the assistant wide receivers coach, and he's going to throw him an offer. But those offers are all contingent upon you actually doing something on the field. Because at any given time, until that offer is sent via email or in the mail, whatever, that says, here's your official scholarship offer, it's all just word of mouth. It's me calling you on the phone and saying, hey, we're offering you a scholarship, and then you go post it on Instagram, and then a year later, I'm at another school, and you go call Nick Saban, and he's like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
Realistically, that's how kind of how it works. But these kids get so caught up in what everybody else is doing. That's when I think that business really changed for me. Is I used to look at what other people were doing, and I was worried about the next guy and the next guy and the next guy, and what is he doing different than me, and how can I be better here and there. And the about 2019, early 2020, about late 2019, early 2020, it was like, what do you got to lose? Like, if you're confident in everything that you've learned up to this point, and the things that I teach these guys, and the proof's in the pudding. Why, just go for it. Like, just keep going.
Literally go. I can
like, just take it and go. And I started owning more of these training sessions and being more confident with it, busting my ass even more. It's like taking on these, working 6-7 days a week to grow this thing. And that's really like 2020 is when it really like exploded. Which ironically, the kids didn't have school. More kids were calling. More parents were calling. Kids are getting offers. I had some of the pro guys back here for the off-season training, and it was nuts for a while. Like, it was honestly to the point where it was like, holy shit, how do I have time to do anything else?
Business was booming.
Business was booming, honestly. Like, and I'm humble about it because I
saw. You have to be.
Like, you get to a point where, you're barely scraping by.
Yeah.
Like, I had a salary job. Things were great.
Sure. It's guaranteed.
Quit the job. Then it's like, dude, I'm picking from the savings. Then I get to the point where it's like, holy shit, I got $90 in my checking account. I'm making $100,000 a year prior. And to some people, that's everything. I didn't want to be the person that just only made $100,000, but for those who do, like, that's great for you. Like,
sure.
I'm not knocking that, but I quit, and you're going to make $35,000 the first year I did this thing. And it's like $90 in the bank account. Like, again, shit, or bring the damn juice. You know what I'm
Dude,
saying?
you have to get
like,
your
so
piss
I
on
had
it.
to.
You have to.
And so that's when I think my mentality changed. The kids' mentality started changing. They were buying or feeding off my energy.
Yeah.
College coaches started coming around a little bit more, getting asked to go to camps, confident in the things that I'm teaching and things that I'm doing. Stop worrying about other people.
Yeah.
And now here we are.
I mean, there's so many great things you just said out there. One thing I for sure want to brush on is the perception of kids, young athletes these days.
Yeah.
Obviously, we use football because that's our sport, but like athletes in general, this can relate to the social media hype that kids get sucked into. And I'm talking like 7th graders. It's getting out of hand, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think the disrespectful celebrations that kids do at 7-on-7. I watched a video on Twitter about some kid who dunked on some kid and he socked him in the face and knocked him out cold.
Yeah, I saw
facing the other way.
A
Like,
couple weeks ago, right?
that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe I'm crazy. Like, I was not a score a touchdown. I was so excited. I would just go chest bump the first guy I could see. I wasn't doing greedies or anything like that. Like, you know, I'm sure maybe I could. Like my brother's different. Like he had a couple cool handshakes and shit. Me, I'm just like, fuck yeah, let's fucking go, boys. Yeah. And that starts with a high school touchdown, but then that gets to like, you know, a good play on a special teams. Now you're like, that's your equivalent for me. Like that was like, let's go, baby. Like let's get fired up off it. And I think I wouldn't celebrate things unless it was really great. I'm not going to go ape shit on a touchdown if the DB fell and I ran a fade to the end zone. Like, all right, bro, like hand the ball to the referee. You did your job. You caught the ball standing alone. Now, if I ran a slant, took it for 80, different energy.
Right.
Totally different energy. If it's opening kickoff and somebody smacks a dude, pins him on the 15, totally different juice compared to like, oh, we ran him out of bounds on the 40. Like, whether you get credit for the tackle or you get credit for something or not, like there's a time and a place. And to watch these 7-on-7 videos and watch these just young kids who are trying to do things that at one point in my life, I thought you can't celebrate like that until you play on the 49ers and you scored a touchdown.
Right.
Like you can't do a Terrell Owens celebration until you're Terrell Owens.
Right.
You can't do that shit yet. And I feel like my class, again, I'm 25 years old now. I feel like it was kind of like 50-50. Like some kids would do it. Other kids were a little more humble with it and thought how I did. But now it's like, oh, I went to freaking my brother's baseball game a couple days ago. If you get on base, there's like the flamethrower, there's the bow and arrow, there's all kinds of shit.
There we go.
There's the flex to the other bench. Yep. It's like, bro, what happened to just a base, the old base hit, get a butt slap by your coach, spit at some seeds. All right, let's go, baby. Like, whatever. Like, it's all about the rub it in your face now and the social media side of things. And I truly believe there are kids. I know I have people I played with at Fresno State who would go get the work in one day a week for an hour. That hour, 40 of it would be on Instagram Live. They'd run 10 routes. And it's like, oh, we're getting this work in. Man, the real dudes, the real ass dudes, they don't post it every day, bro. They might post it every once in a while. Like, hey, been working. Something humble. Right. Okay, sure. But there's a lot of frauds out in the world right now, bro.
Oh, for sure.
A lot of posers. And for the young athlete out there, it's like, I mean, my dad always said, I don't know if Teddy Roosevelt actually said this, but like, speak softly and carry a big stick. Go to work every day, get your work in, get the extra work in, but stay humble through success and through failure. Because there's nothing more scary than when a dude's talking shit and you just absolutely mop his ass. When you're lining up against a DB, I'm speaking from a whiteout now, and you route his ass up, and he's still talking shit. It's like, I'm in his head now. Rent free in his head.
He knows.
It's the reality of things. And quarterbacks, like, you're a quarterback guy. I know some quarterbacks that they're silent the whole game. And as soon as, look at Tom Brady. You think Tom Brady's a mean person? I don't know. Maybe you have a different case on him, but he for sure gets a little more mean when he's playing football.
Right,
and someone's talking shit in his face. Like, yeah, you gonna bring that beast out of me? Like, you could get a different breed when you could control that and then let it release when you're performing.
Right.
But there's kids now, and I say kids because I see it on social media because that's what it is. And even like, again, me and my brother say this, like swag, okay? Deion Sanders. You look good, you feel good, you play good. Like that was kind of one of his credos. And I always thought being a whiteout, being a football player in general, you can't just come out if it's your first game ever and you've never done anything in a football game. You can't come out with the tights on and the double wristband and the tape and all that shit. Like, or if you're, I mean, everybody has their swag. Swag's evolved and gone different directions over the years now. But like for me, I was always like, I need to make some plays before I get to that level of shit. Like I can't be coming out here looking swaggy and then be not doing anything. So, I think you should have to start with like a white normal sock, like a crew sock, like the ones you get for the starter pack. Yeah, the high school spirit pack. Like, yeah, we're getting white socks, and then you should get to go from there. You can wear gloves. Go ahead.
Right.
But kids these days, like they're out here wearing way too much swag for the shitty level of talent you have, and it's like
the 7-on-7 guys. How about the dudes with the goggles? These guys are wearing goggles now on the side of their head with pit vipers on.
Hey man, I like pit vipers.
Nothing against the pit vipers.
Hey, but not for 7.
Would you ever wear pit vipers in 7-on-7? No shot, right? My dad would be up my ass. Like if I would have walked out there like that, my dad would say no shot.
You can't.
No way. I'm not watching you play like that.
Yeah.
My dad would say no shot.
It's not. But like, what happened to old school gritty football too? Like, I mean, I guess the new era of there's some dudes in the league that like they're about that celebration, be obnoxious with like the Supreme shoes and all that shit. Like, I mean, that's cool. That's cool, but like, I always compare. Like, I think of the Honey Badger. Okay, the dude is gritty and he deserves to wear the double barrel wristbands because he plays with some nuts.
Right.
The dude gets to do it because of that. If he wasn't cold, he shouldn't get to do that, bro.
Right.
I've had games where I remember I had a game where I was shitty and I was like, I wore too much swag this game. I don't deserve this anymore. I need to humble myself right now.
Yep.
I don't know. Maybe it's just the generation of people that has changed, but like kids are getting softer. I don't care what people say. And like, it's the reality of things. But like one thing for you, you said your clientele of quarterbacks has gone up so much. And with that, all that is saying to the audience is you've been around more competitors. Now, what's something that, and you're going to push your competitors to get better. What is one trait that of all the competitors you've been around, the winners all have in common? What do they all have in common? It doesn't have to be the throwing mechanics, because there's a shit ton more to football than throwing mechanics.
Right. That's a good question. There's a few guys that I think of, and one of them is Josh, obviously, being around Josh.
That's Josh Allen, by the way.
Josh is like a little brother. So watching that guy, the competitive drive that he's got, it doesn't matter if we're playing football, golf, ping pong, Call of Duty.
Sure.
The guy wants to win everything. I could say, hey, I'm going to throw a freaking bottle cap in this from the hallway. It's on. It's like we're in the freaking AFC Championship. He wants to beat my ass at doing that.
Good.
And that's in every single thing that he does, right? There's a couple quarterbacks that have that confidence, and some people have false confidence, right?
Sure.
And you can tell after about 15 minutes of being around him, like, this kid's full of shit, right? Or this guy's full of shit, right? Like, no, there's a couple of those dudes that have the confidence and that swag, but I'm not talking about the way they dress. It's the way they carry themselves.
Yes.
And, they let their play talk for them. Like, you might get these kids that say, hey, make this throw or do this and that and the other thing. And they're talking shit to them. It's like, to me, I've always been the guy that lets the play talk for me. Like, these kids, even still, they're up my ass about throwing certain routes. Coach, you couldn't do this. It's like, give me the ball then.
Sure.
Do it. Put the hands up. Like, what did you think was going to happen?
Yeah.
But I'm a competitive dude, too. Like, I want to win, especially in all sports ball related. Like,
anything I want to win,
it doesn't matter.
man.
Golf, baseball, basketball, football. Like,
literally anything. I agree.
Like, I'm giving my best. I'll go buy a new pair of basketballs just to go play basketball because I want to be the guy that day, right? And I'm not going to go over the top of it. But it's like, that's how I always thought. Like, that's it. I was just wired that way. But being around the NFL guys, but being around the winners, like Josh I don't know, he's just wired different. You got to be around him because he screws off. He's like me and you. He screws off
Sure.
24/7.
Yeah.
But when it's time, like there's some days when he was a rookie and he got drafted, I'd look at him like, dude, how the hell do people look at you in a huddle? Like these grown men that you're around, how do they look at you in a huddle and actually buy in and are confident in you?
Take us to the promised land. Yeah.
But he gets on the field and shit changes. Like he is the one guy that I've been around where it's like whether he trains for 20 hours a week or trains for 2 hours a week, when he gets on the field, it's like he's the one guy that I've seen. It's like natural abilities just take over.
Yeah. And
throws everything else out and just lets his abilities and play speak for him, his arm talent, all of that stuff. And he's highly underrated from an athletic standpoint.
Sure.
So you watch him go run over people. He's confident, and like you watch him go put his shoulder down against safeties in the NFL. Like, what are you doing? But he's confident in the fact that he's going to run somebody over. He's 6'5", 240.
Yeah.
He's going to do it. He don't give a shit because he's going to put it all out there for the end result. He wants to win that bad, no matter what he's doing.
You heard it here first, folks. Wow.
Yeah.
I want to get back to that in a sec. First, we got a couple ad reads real quick.
Yep.
We're going to start off with Ascent Film Company. So our videographer, Jake, you've seen us on social medias?
Yep, absolutely.
So we have this high quality video because of Ascent Film Company. And, you know, every single person I think has a story. And we live in an age now where social media is one of the ways you grow, both in business, in status, and getting more customers and gaining popularity, but also people buying into your message. And one of the reasons that Bring the Juice uses Ascent Film Company is because they do a good job of portraying the content of the gritty, hardworking, high energy things that Bring the Juice produces every week. So we use Ascent Film Company. They now have different offers where they will come, they'll video anything you want, promote your business, chop up reels so you can put them on Instagram, all this good stuff. They're highly professional. They're always on time. I'm at the point, and I'm sure you're at this point as well, especially considering like you run your business, your last name's in your business. I want to work with people who are like-minded. And Ascent Film Company is like-minded in the sense where they want to get the job done as efficiently as possible and just kick ass in general. So I appreciate Ascent Film Company. Additionally, we have Dervo's Deli. You like chicken sandwiches?
I love them.
God, Dervo's Deli's got the best chicken sandwich on the market right now. We were there a couple weeks ago, had a taste test. The owner, Justin, he's the boy. We're having some Fresno State people on in a couple weeks. Going to have a huge promo through Dervo's Deli. I'm trying to get a Bring the Juice official sandwich at Dervo's Deli.
There we go.
I need it. What
would your official sandwich be, though? I'm
so
putting you
like,
on the spot.
If we were to go Italian, it'd probably be salami sandwich with Gouda cheese, probably some pepperoncinis on there, a little bit of lettuce, some balsamic. I like balsamic glaze now all of a sudden too. I don't know, it's pretty good. Little olive oil, little salt and pepper. And I don't know. I need like something else in their little wild card.
But would you get it toasted or do you get it
toasted for sure? Toasted for sure. Probably sourdough, unless they have like a baguette special. But Dervo's Deli, they got some fire. Their chicken sandwich is fire. I kind of want to have the Nashville chicken sandwich. I'm a blue cheese guy with my wings.
Me too.
All right, I'm glad we're on the same page. I kind of want blue cheese side next time, so we'll see. Last sponsor is Plates Hub. Plates Hub is a company that they feed the Rams and the Chargers, the whole facility. And throughout COVID, they realized, hey, and they feed a lot. I mean, they're a meal prep company. And they mainly were catered towards NFL dudes, Ultimate Fighters, some MLB guys, professional athletes. Right. And but now they're like, hey, we opened 5 more kitchens. The average Joe Schmo could come and eat like the pros. 2-day delivery, organic, always fresh. Great company, great morals. They have good packaging. I actually challenged Mark Marion to a chicken weeding contest from their wings. It'll probably happen in a couple weeks. But yeah, Plates Hub, they're the boys. We appreciate all you guys on Bring the Juice. And yeah, so getting back to the pod, what is the one thing to work on, or the one thing you tell your quarterbacks to work on? Because, the game is physical. Don't get me wrong. You got to make that throw. You got to get that read. You have to understand that. But if you had to tell a young quarterback, let's say an 8th grader, let's say a junior in high school, to excel in this game, this is where you mentally need to be. Because, yeah, some guys, like you said, they got the Josh Allen mindset of they just want to win in every single thing that they do. But what is something that the young kids don't work on enough? Is it the film? Is it the X's and O's itself? Or is it just, hey, you're a quarterback, you should be a captain. You should be a natural born leader. And even if you aren't, fake it till you make it, man, because it's going to help you.
I think it's all the above, honestly. And it's something I talk about a lot. But I think with quarterbacks in general, especially the younger guys, parents always ask me, kids will come up after a session, like, what can I work on?
Sure.
Right? And there's different things case by case, like
Absolutely.
getting your elbow up, or firing your hip, or keeping the front side closed off, whatever it may be. I think the biggest thing for younger athletes is having the ability to learn something from somebody, right? Whether it's a quarterback coach, a receiver coach, a strength coach, whatever it may be, and leaving the session and going and working on those things at home on your own when nobody's watching, right? And those are the hard hours, right? And it's not even necessarily an hour. It's like I tell these kids, go do something that we did in a warm-up that's going to help your mechanics, and go do it like 100 reps. It'll take you 10 minutes.
Sure.
Right? Go do it in the mirror, and that's going to help you get better, right? But if you sit at a quarterback training session for an hour and a half, and then you leave, and you come back the next week and you didn't do anything in between,
you're not
do you really think you're going to get better? No. It's like I use the reference, especially with the younger kids all the time. It's like, what do you want to – if you want to get better at video games, what do? You play more video games, right? You want to get better at Call of Duty, you're going to play more Call of Duty.
Yeah.
You want to get better at being a quarterback, do more things related to being a quarterback when you're not just on the field. Do it at home, watch film, watch the huddle tape, watch NFL games. Go study little tendencies that these college and high school, or not high school, college and NFL quarterbacks are doing on Sundays. But be a pro at it at a young age. And if you can be a pro at it at a young age and have that mindset and let it carry through, those are the kids you see the changes happen a lot faster. It's like get 1% better every single day.
Couldn't agree more.
And then you'll start to see it time after time. You're going to start getting better. And then you're going to start lapping the dudes that you thought were the guys. But guess what? The guys that used to be the guys, like we talked about earlier, the guys that used to be there, that are content with where they're at and they realize they're better than everybody else, you get a couple younger guys that start leaping. And then all of a sudden they're like, why the hell is he getting more love than me?
Right.
Why is he getting more offers than me? Mm-hmm. Why is he getting recruited? Why is he getting invites to camps? And I say, it's like, dude, like you've had the same opportunities. So-and-so just took advantage of them.
Yeah.
Right? I told you what to do. And it's not like it's at some point or another, though, kids either got it or they don't.
Couldn't agree more.
But for those who have it, most of the time, it's easier for them to be. You're the guy at your home school, right? And it's always the reality check, especially when you get to college. Like, I was the guy
always
at my high school, right? Then I get to college, I get to junior college, and they're like, you're going to gray shirt this year. I'm like, what the hell? What do you mean I'm going to gray shirt? But there was 4 other quarterbacks there, right? And then the next year, there's 5 quarterbacks I had to compete with just to win the job. And you're still you think you're the guy, right? So I won a couple bowl games, all conference 2 years in a row, go to Eastern Washington, right? Same thing.
Yep.
Show up there. Everybody in that room can pretty much do the exact same shit that you can. How do you gain an edge?
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I think that players, kids, coaches, parents don't realize. It's like just because you're the dude at the home school and everybody's pumping you up, when you go to that next step, everybody in that same room, the quarterback room, the receiver room, can do the same shit pretty much as you can. How are you going to figure out a way to differentiate yourself from that? And that's something that kids struggle with. I think everybody at some point or another kind of struggles with that.
Hell yeah.
That's the reality check that happens. And there's some kids that I train and they know who they are. And they'll see this. And it's like, I cannot
watch this.
Yeah, they'll watch it. I can't wait for them to go to the Division I schools they're going to because they've been the guys.
Yeah.
And it's like, here's the reality check. And they'll give me the phone call back. You told me. It was coming. You told me.
I think you couldn't be more right. Everybody, if there's 110 dudes on a college football roster, I would say 100 of them were the MVP of their high school football team. They were probably all league. They probably, They were the man. And when you're the bee's knees, when you're the cat's pajamas, when your shit don't stink, when you're the man and you run the show and you're the king on the campus and you go to a new place and you got a random ass locker and your number isn't some hot shit anymore. You got some dookie ass number.
Yep.
And you realize third on the depth chart. The fuck
If you're lucky.
Bro, I had 20 receivers at one point. Like what? And I'm a walk-on. Like, okay, so that automatically, and it's not just your freshman year. Like, that's the other thing too. They're always looking for the next great thing. Always, which is great. So, and I tell my brother when getting recruited, like, yeah, they love you now, but wait till you're a freshman and you were a guy last year who they were loving, and now all of a sudden you're running the camp, and they're like loving on this guy. And you're like, bro, like I'm not getting all these reps yet, and it's so critical and so hard because from my personal experience in football and in life, when you are so praised, and there is guys who have to work a lot harder to get to certain levels. Right. Like there's guys who I had to score 14 touchdowns because I was smaller in high school, where a guy could have scored 5 because he was bigger.
Right.
Different journey. Okay, everyone has their path. I'm not bitching about it. But it prepared me for understanding that I'm going to need to scrap to get on the bus, to get on a field, to get an opportunity to get on the field. Like, I already was a scrapper, so it was easy for me. It wasn't easy, but I already knew what I had to do.
Right.
Versus guys who are 6'2", and in high school, you pretty much try to throw it up. And now they're going against a good DB who you can't just throw it up. You got to work. And when you drop a ball or when you run the wrong route, instead of saying, oh, let's go back and run it again, they say, get the fuck out. Get someone in here who knows what he's doing. Some people don't respond well to that shit, man. And if you're mentally strong at a young age, I'll eat that shit. Sorry, I mean, make up for it the next time. Right. Make up for it. You have to. They'll cut your ass. I've seen it. And some people don't react well to that. I always use the offensive lineman scenario. To me, I think an O-lineman is one of the hardest positions to get right as a recruiter. Because if a dude is 6'5", 300, there's a lot of different types of 6'5", 300s. Right. You could be 6'5", 300 and you're going against a 180-pound D lineman your whole high school career. You're doing your job. You look good. Maybe you got a little goatee. You look a little old. Like, hey, we could put some muscle on this guy. He'll be a dude. All right. Or you could get your first day of college football and all of a sudden, this dude's soft as dog shit.
Yep.
We gotta cut this guy. Maybe he'll be on punt shield someday or some bullshit. Like, it's so hard to recruit O-linemen because you're all you're guessing is basically, can we turn this guy into a ball player? Right. Because you don't every week. Maybe if you're I guess St. John Bosco probably plays against pretty good D linemen compared to like Memorial and Buchanan week in and week out. Like, chances are you aren't going against an edge player who, every week who's 300. Maybe he's a fast guy. Maybe he's a fast 230 at high school, but like you're not going against a nose who's a 305th year senior. Like, how are you going to react to that type of shit? Some dudes react to it in different types of ways. Like, I think from a skilled position, the speed, the intensity, everyone else is good around you. Like, you got guys that'll make that play, but there's different cues that defensive players read in the collegiate level compared to high school. I mean, if it's cover 3 in high school, throw the seam, bro. Like bang it. I'll make one cut and I'm gone. In college, it ain't that simple, man. No. like there's a lot of shit that can happen in a seam route in college. Yeah. And to your young athletes listening to this, to any young athletes listening to this, to the parents of young athletes listening to this, and to formal athletes listening to this, we all know somebody or will know somebody who is the man and will get humbled off of just inexperience. And it's just, how do you respond to that? Like, what are you going to do? Because I know dudes that went in the transfer portal 2 weeks into their first day at Fresno State because they weren't the starter. And it's like, bro, for me, it was like, bro, Devontae Adams just left, bro. Like, what do you think's going to happen?
Right.
Like people are going to scrap this out right now. And, I'm not going to talk shit on the transfer portal right now, but like, I think kids are too trigger happy. I think the grass isn't always greener on the other side, and that's in football and in a lot of other situations in life. And there is, I think quarterback's a position where like maybe the grass is greener more often than not. Like if you have the cards fall in the right place. But there's nothing wrong with scrapping it out if 3 dudes are competing for one spot. There's no wrong with duking it out. It builds a lot of character. Yeah. And people forget this too. Injuries happen. Ineligible things happen. People do stupid shit on the weekends. You got to stay ready so you don't have to. I mean, always be ready. How's it go? Stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Yep.
My bad. Long day.
No, and I think that the thing with quarterbacks is obviously there's only one, right? There's 4. There could be, if you're running 11 personnel, there's 4 wide receivers.
4 wide receivers.
3 and then an inner
tight end.
Right. But, 10, you're running 4 wide. Like most of the time, these guys, like base personnel is going to be 11 or 10 personnel.
Right.
So you're going to have 4 or 3 wide receivers on the field. There's one quarterback. But to your point on the portal is, I think leading up to people signing.
Yeah.
Now it's like National Signing Day and it's on the news and it's on social media and who's signing where and this and that. The other thing, it's like, these top kids sign one place and they transfer the next year. But back when I was in school, and it might have been this way when you were still playing, is once you were there,
yeah.
If you wanted to leave, so if you wanted to go from Fresno State to USC, you had to sit out
1 year,
right?
I think they should bring it back.
So that penalty alone, right there, when you signed your letter of intent, like you made sure this was the spot that I was going to. Now with the NIL world, it's who's throwing what amount of money at me and who's going to get me this car deal and who's going to give me this. And if it doesn't go through and how I planned, I'll just jump ship and go somewhere else the next year to another school that was already recruiting me. So there's the commitment, I think, and I hate to say this because I might have some transfer portal guys, and I've had transfer portal guys that I've trained that just didn't get the spot, or they were there for 2 years and they
shit
left.
happens. Yeah,
right?
that's why I don't want. That's why I don't want to
get a better opportunity.
Yes.
So they left, right? But now with the NIL world, and I'm not going to dive into it too much because I might end up getting a quarterback one day that does this, and I'm like, do you remember you said this on the podcast? But there's people that are leaving, like one of the top receivers in the country.
Yeah.
He won the Belenikoff last year at Pitt. He's now in the transfer portal, looking at other schools, and
it's a bidding war.
A lot of stuff has become a bidding war with him. We're talking not $100,000; it's $2 to $3 million, where he's going to get paid to play football this next year on top of the scholarship, and then end up going to the NFL. So it's like these guys are making more money than the coaches, which that's a whole other conversation. And I'm not even getting into the players getting paid and this and that, but it's the commitment isn't the same, I don't think, anymore from the player perspective, because there's the bailout on the back end for them to get out and then go to a new school. So I partially agree with it, because you go commit to Fresno State.
Sure.
DeBoer wants to leave, okay? And then Tedford steps in. Well, what if you really liked DeBoer but you didn't like Tedford and you're already signed at Fresno State?
Right. Now what?
Shit out of luck, right?
Yeah.
So then I think the portal was initially kind of made for that.
Yeah.
And then it became the wild, wild west of like everybody can transfer wherever the hell they want to go.
I agree. And it's for me, football is such a loyalty thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you go through hell with a group of guys who come from different backgrounds, whether it's from pretty much all walks of life. And they're all different shapes and sizes and colors and all kinds of shit. And basically, you're put into a locker room and they say, hey, become best friends, figure it out, learn how to win. Some teams aren't that good, but they play hard as shit for each other. Some teams are really good and they don't win enough for how good they are. I mean, we've seen it. You see it year in and year out. And I think the transfer portal thing, it's too accessible of an eject button for some kids. I do agree with you. If you're put in the wrong situation, if, hey, I wanted to be with this coach, I really don't like that coach, and it just isn't the right fit. But also, I feel like adversity is getting softer and softer of what the definition is. Adversity strikes in hard situations. It's not adversity when your football coach leaves and a new guy comes in. There's a lot bigger adversity things in life than things like that.
Absolutely.
You could come in, let the guy have his first meeting, go through winter workouts, see how it goes. Now, if the coach leaves and he's like, hey, you're going to be the starter, we're going to get your NIL deal, all these things. Even then, for me, I'm like, I'm still at least skeptical. Like, I'm not, again, I don't want to dive deep into it because we could talk about it for hours and all these angles and shit. You always want to do what's best for you in life. But it just, I don't know, the guys I played football with, like, they mean something to me, man. Right. We lost together and we won together. And in reality, we don't even talk about either. We talk about the bullshit summer workouts and the winter conditioning, like the hard, the grittiness, like the fucked up things you have to do as a program and like the funny days in study hall. Like, you don't, I'm not saying you don't care. Like, I got 3 rings in my closet right now that shit, I care a lot. Like, I got 3 college football rings, 1 Mountain West championship and 2 bowl rings that I'm damn proud of.
Right.
But like, I thought I would wear them more than I do. You know, I just don't wear them. Not because I don't want to gloat. I don't want to gloat. Like, it's literally why I don't wear them. But like, I'm proud, but it's the people you meet. And like, I wouldn't want to play college football just because, I only got an opportunity to play in the NFL. Like, yes, I understand. You should for sure put your best foot forward in anything that you do. But there's also the reality check of there's a lot of people in the transfer portal. Like, maybe you stick it out, grind with your brothers. You'll get through this shit. You guys will win. And if you're good enough, they'll fucking find you a lot of the times. Like, right. The stars do need to align in certain situations. And I'm not against the transfer portal at all. I know I have plenty of friends where it's worked out in their favor. I just think it's people are a little too trigger happy on it right now.
No, I agree with you.
I don't know.
No, there's plenty of that, and I think that it's changed the recruiting game from the perspective of, especially at quarterbacks, where I've gone to a couple schools, in the last few months, a couple of universities, and their coaches asked me, not even the conversation is not who do you have for a 23 or 24 quarterback, it's who do you have in the portal, or we're going to take a transfer portal guy. Like, so now the recruiting is cut down from searching for 1,000 or through thousands of quarterbacks to let's just hit the portal and see what 250 quarterbacks are in there.
They're mature.
Checking off boxes. Like, they must have been good because they went to, University of Cal or San Jose State before, and now we're going to take him because he's already groomed and ready to rock. Right. Or why is he in the portal? Or
that's my perspective.
So it's like,
why is he in the portal?
There's all those different cases. It's case by case. So that the portal is good. I see the good of it, and then I see, like, there's the other side of it where it's killing some of the high school recruiting stuff, and it's killing some of the JC recruiting stuff, especially being a JC guy, where, like, now those guys are becoming overlooked because they can go get a guy that's been at a 4-year university as a backup.
That's better than a JC, essentially, in their eyes.
And that's what they're thinking.
Right.
Like, even though he might not have played, and I don't see it that way, it's like, well, we're going to go get the guy that's already been in a system. So, positives and negatives to the transfer portal, in my opinion.
It's a tough thing. I mean, Greg, I want to give you one more question before we wrap it up here, but in a perspective of you're an adult grinder who's had lows and is rising into highs, and I guess I got 2 more questions for you, but do you have any references that you consistently go to, whether it's a podcast besides Bring the Juice or books, audio books, just mentors, people you reach out to that they help you grow daily?
Yeah. I think from a business perspective, if you're not continuously growing, like we talked about, if you're not finding ways to grow and you're stagnant, like, you're eventually going to get lapped. Or your business, people are going to be able to see through the bullshit. It's going to be the same thing after a while. And in the quarterback world, it has to be consistent, because when you're working on mechanics and things like that, it's going to be just some of the same things over and over, just to perfect like throwing mechanics, if you would. So, or footwork or whatever it may be, and be as consistent as possible. But I'm trying to learn stuff all the time. Like, people ask me, where did you learn this stuff? Like, I've obviously talked to other people that read books, but one of my buddies, Danny Hernandez, he's a quarterback coach down in SoCal. He's probably the top, if not one of the top quarterback coaches in the country. He's got guys from the Heisman Trophy winner to 5 stars to youth kids. Danny and I probably talk at least once a week, and we're bouncing ideas off each other. And
good.
I'm trying to pick his brain. I've gone to a couple of his throwing sessions. I've done camps with Danny. We're going to do a couple more camps this upcoming summer, but Danny for sure is one of those guys that I can call at any point, rely on. There's another guy, Derek, in Oklahoma. We bounce ideas off each other. I'm my assistant. Thomas Romero is my assistant. Like, that guy I lean on more than anybody, probably just as, if I'm going to be late to a session, Thomas is there. If I'm, sitting at my house and I need to call and just vent to somebody,
sure,
I'm talking to Thomas. Thomas has been a dude for me. He's teaching some of the younger guys, and he's taking some of those dudes on alone. When I'm not there, he's as good as it's going to get, when I'm not there. And there's a lot of things that he brings to the business that save my ass.
Yeah.
A lot of times. Dave Stanifer at AP, Josh at AP, Jeremy, Juan, those trainers just bouncing ideas off each other all the time to try and gain an edge.
Yep.
And what's going to continue to push me? What's the next idea that's going to be different from what I'm doing now that's going to push me? A lot of those guys have been huge for me. My wife.
Sure.
Definitely my wife. Like, there's times where it's like, dude, I don't even want to talk football. Like, people want to talk football with me a lot, and I see the game different, and I know professional athletes, as do you, and they want to know this, that, and the other thing about these guys, but I do this for a living. Like,
right.
When you're done with onions, and you get home, it's probably the last thing you want to talk about.
I won't talk
right?
about that shit.
Like, I would just assume that I watch probably 30 or 40 football games on a weekend. It's like I get home on a Saturday and I might watch one college football game, watch Fresno State or whatever it may be, or I'll click on the Niner game on a Sunday and watch the Bills, and like those might be the only two games I even pay attention to because I give a shit about the other ones just because this is what I do for a living.
Right.
Like, I'll turn on Formula One and watch racing or play video games and just go outside and hit golf balls. Just like Sunday at 1:00, the Niners and the Bills already played at 10. Like, I'm trying to look for a tea time. Like, I don't give a shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to get out of the 100%. House. So, but my wife, she's been probably the biggest promoter for me and the pusher, and she's like the energy behind it. There's days where she's just like, she's always hyping me up. There's times where it's like, I don't know, I feel like shit, I don't want to go out, I feel like I look like shit, whatever it may be. Right. I'm just worn down, and she's always there to hype me up. She's pushed me more than anything. My kids have pushed me more than anything, so a big shout out to them. But yeah, the business is grown because of all the people, and plenty more that I didn't mention, but there's a lot of people that have been behind this thing and have supported me, and there's also the haters too.
Fuck yeah, there's the haters.
I think probably motivates me more than ever, being a small town guy that was always overlooked, and then being a JC guy, and then being a backup, and then when I first started training, I was like training at parks, right, across the street from my parents' house, and then I, 4 or 5 years later, I'm running pro day at Fresno State or at the University of Kentucky, or I'm at Ann Arbor in Michigan with one of my quarterbacks that I've worked with the last 4 years. It's like, this is what I've done. I came from this, and now I'm here. But what's the next stop? Like, exactly. I'm always thinking about the next stop. Like, I'm happy with where I'm at, right? But it's like, if I'm not, you watch the Josh Oka thing. Like, a lot of people are playing checkers, right? Just back and forth bullshit, content with where they're at. No, I want to play chess.
Fuck yeah, you want to play chess.
At a high level, too.
Yeah.
Like, I don't just want to do
Queen's Gambit shit.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Like, I'm not trying to do the little shit.
No, your next move's your best move.
Yeah, and I want to keep it rolling.
You have to. And it's so hard to keep those ideas fresh. I mean, for me, like, even to bring the juice, it's like, all right, great. Like, people think it's going, like, it's growing. But me, I'm like, okay, right now we're at like 3,500 followers. Our episodes are at about something similar to that. Like, how can I get to 10,000 as fast as possible? And I think of, I mean, if you've heard of, like, Elon says, I heard it again today. I have to fucking reference it. Like, what's your 10-year plan? Do it in 6 months. You're not going to do it in 6 months, but you're going to get a fuck ton further than if you were to try to do it in 10 years. And I agree. Like, you got to have people in your life that are both your supporters, your hype men, people that, on your low days, they bring you up a little bit. But I listen to, like, my haters. I look at my competition hard. What are they doing good? And it's also hard because me, like, around the Central Valley, there's not a lot of other podcasts, but I'm not aiming for the Central Valley. I'm aiming for anybody. I mean, every week I got a map of demographic of who listens where. Like, I got 400 listeners from the state of Texas alone right now. And I'm just like, okay, who's in Texas that is local? Where's the Fresno of Texas where there's another guy like me talking? How can I beat his ass? What can I do to grow? And I mean, for me, it's like, I know every episode I produce, I'm gonna do my research. I'm gonna produce some fire. I'm gonna have a game plan. I'm gonna let it come off the dome, because I truly believe nobody else could do the shit that I'm doing right now. Like, I would love to go toe up with anybody on Bring the Juice first, whatever the fuck your podcast is. Like, bet. I trust myself. I trust my gut. Not because I know how to talk or can I articulate, because I went through the shits. Like, I understand, like, just how you said you went through the shits. If you didn't go play JC and then go be a backup and do all this other shit and have to provide for your family, you would not be as successful as you were today. Right. The foundation would not have been set to get you to where you were. Yeah, maybe you could have been a hungry motherfucker, but it comes from your inner loins of your soul. Like, I'm not going to say you either have it or you don't, because there are people that they train their bodies and their minds and they develop shit, but you have to go through some shit, and it isn't always just apples to apples. Like, you could go through some shit and have that inner fuel, the inner pissed off anger be released into another avenue of life sometimes. Anyways, not to go off on a tangent there or anything, but
no, but
I know what you fucking mean.
No, but I like it, because
that's what I'm saying.
I always think the same things. Like, whether it's doing a camp, whether it's doing draft prep stuff, whether it's training certain quarterbacks, whether it's going and training the pro athletes, like, if I'm not doing it,
yeah,
somebody else is doing it.
Always.
So why the hell not me?
Yeah.
Because I sat back and watched, right? And I let other people maybe take advantage of those opportunities.
Right.
And it's like, internally, you think I haven't done this long enough yet to do that.
Yeah. Fuck that.
But then you start to look at it and you're like, what the fuck did this guy do?
They ain't shit. People ain't shit.
Right?
People are not shit.
It's like, dude, why the hell can't you do it? So then I said, fuck it. And I started doing those things, draft prep, working with the pro guys, and being confident. Like, when you look at a pro guy, some of these guys, and they know who they are, like, you tell them something, and they look at you sometimes like, you're stupid. I'm like, bro, I used to do the same shit you're doing.
Yeah.
Fucking do it.
Yeah.
Like, there's a rhyme and reason to doing these things. And high school kids, just those guys and the younger kids, they'll ask me, or they'll look at me. I'll tell them something, they'll look at me. And I'm like, dude, come on, man. Like, just do it. Like, if I didn't think it was going to benefit you,
not going to tell you. Not going to waste your time, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're wasting my time and your parents' money.
Yeah.
You know, so, but there's so many opportunities now, especially with social media, with podcast stuff, with whatever the hell people want to do in life. Quarterback training, receiver training, you want to be a hairstylist, you want to do real estate, whatever the hell it is. There's always somebody that's going to be a little bit more motivated, and people have a hard time looking at those people and realizing the difference between him and you is that he or she actually just took that leap.
Right.
It took advantage of the opportunity while it's here. While you're going to sit at home and bitch why you don't have those opportunities, just go do it.
Yeah.
And finally, I just started doing it.
You have to.
And that's when the game changed. I
mean, one of my buddies always says is like, if not me, then who? And if not now, then fucking when.
Yeah.
And it's dead ass. Yeah. I mean, Greg, this is the obvious question. I'm sure you get asked this a lot, but I just want to know, you've been with a guy like Josh Allen, who's the quarterback of the Buffalo Bills for a long time now. You've known him for a long time. You've seen the shits, and you've seen his, scoring 6 touchdowns in a row shit. Like, you've seen it all. You mentioned how he's a winner and is obsessed with winning. And he's going to come on the podcast, by the way. Brittany told me.
There you go.
I'm on her. I sent them hats. I'm on their ass. But how has he progressed in your eyes? And where's his ceiling? Man, I know you could go on an hour about that. I think the biggest but in a bullet point or two.
Mentally. So Josh has all the intangibles.
Sure.
From a athletic perspective, except on the golf course, because I'll still whoop his ass. I'm on your ass, and he knows it. He's got me one time.
You heard that shit, Josh.
Yeah, whatever camera I'm looking at.
Yeah, that's a shout out.
Yes, shout out to Josh because I love him. He's like my little brother. But he's beat me one time. But all other things, no, he is. I think where he's grown the most is from the knowledge perspective, understanding the offenses, the intricacies of the offense, defensive recognition, pre-snap, being confident. A lot of guys, when they first get into the NFL, a lot of quarterbacks especially, like the offense is so complex in the NFL that it's so hard for rookie quarterbacks just to step in. We're dealing with it, the San Francisco 49ers. Look at that whole situation with Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance. Like, they want Trey Lance to step in and be the guy. Well, he's not necessarily ready to be the guy. And I talk about that every week, and Niner fans get so pissed off at me for saying it. It's like, dude,
Right.
that's just how it is. Like, if you go look at the complexity of the playbook, guys aren't ready. And Matt Ryan, I think, screwed that up for everybody because Matt Ryan came in and actually did really well.
Yeah.
But Josh has grown so much from the mental perspective that he understands the game, and now he's the one that's playing the chess and not checkers anymore. He's the one owning everything, making the calls, protections, and the game is revolving around him. And so I think that's where he's grown the most. And just as a person, I think that he's grown a lot too. Not as he's still immature, but not as immature as he used to be. But overall, he's a good kid. That guy will do anything for a lot of people. And, he's not a social media guy, so people will just anticipate that, oh, he's not out doing this and that and the other thing. But, he's a silent killer.
Silent killer.
Yeah, he's a silent killer. And so he's a guy that gets on the field.
It's the most dangerous.
Brady.
The most dangerous.
You're going to get him rocking. Like, that's probably one of the last people you really want to get rocking, especially on a football field.
That's juice right there, baby. That's juice right there.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. Well, I'm about to wrap this up right now. You got anything you want to say real quick to bring the Juice Nation?
I appreciate you having me on, man. I appreciate all the youngsters all out and about around the town wearing the hats. And I've been on my ass about getting a hat. My wife's been on my ass. Like, I want one of those hats. So I train a couple of the guys, and some of these guys got the hats. So you're definitely doing a good job, and I appreciate you having me on, man.
I appreciate it. Another great episode of the Bring the Juice podcast. This week, y'all, make sure to get your piss hot, fire it up, attack every day. Wake up and let's bring the juice, baby.